So in this video, I want to talk about relationship building because in the last few weeks, I've closed close to $10,000 in retainers. And coming from the last few months that have been really dry, and then coming into this season where I'm getting like 4 or 5 calls a day, not just for the little things like the daily retain or the daily shoots like listings, podcasts, but people who want to work with me exclusively to help build their brand. To start off, I want to say I'm very grateful because I do feel like I've been put in a position that I am blessed. I'm blessed by the Lord that I serve. Like, I always want to start with that because I can't do any of this without him. I get burned out just like the rest of you. I have moments of uncertainties and insecurities and feeling like I could be doing more and maybe I messed up this deal and all this other stuff. So to see this season where I'm getting flush with new business and retainers is amazing. But jumping into building relationships and being somebody who your clients are comfortable with is actually a strategy in itself. Like making sure that you're not somebody who is just trying to sell them, you're just trying to pitch them what you can do for them, but you sit there and listen, you have rapport, you can talk about things that are not just work. Like I just had a content day with a guy, and probably the first 30 minutes to almost an hour, we were talking about his family and the house he just moved in. We talked about sports a little bit, how he was getting into golf and how I've been working on my golf game. And that rapport and just being somebody that they're comfortable with, they don't forget. Now, I know it is a fine line because you always want to come off as the professional as opposed to the homie. Like you don't want to be somebody who is just showing up and not taking the job serious because you're super comfortable with them. But and you don't want to be so stiff where if the client wants to joke around or if they laugh, they feel uncomfortable with you. Like there's a fine line between it. And I see it often when I'm filming at events and I see other videographers around and they don't talk to anybody else in the room during the network session. Like when people are talking, exchanging numbers, I am always on the go. Like I'm such a social butterfly where I'm just trying to talk to as many people as I can, getting Instagrams, even if it doesn't turn into business right now. I've had people who have been following me for so long, they see me at so many different events that eventually it does turn into business, or at least somebody that I can refer another videographer or photographer to. Like you got to remember that like extending help and extending jobs to other people always comes back to you as well. Now, retainers is always something I know a lot of people chase because it is the consistent money. And coming from somebody who had 6 retainers at one time and they all slowly just started to disappear to where I only had 1 left, it can hurt financially because you come to depend on that constant flow of income. And when you start to get into a place where you're like dependent on the day-to-day operations of your job, where you're like, I hope somebody reaches out, or you're reaching out to multiple people and they're saying no, or they don't need you today or whatever, it starts to affect you in a way. So bringing it full circle, a lot of these people that are building retainers with me came from conversations that had nothing to do with business. Like it truly just became, I'm comfortable with you. I had videographers in the past and they weren't dependable. They wouldn't answer the phone. They wouldn't give me updates on the projects. And all of that comes down to your relationship building. Like if it were me and I'm getting a client for the first time, I'm asking questions like, did you have a videographer before? If they did, I want to ask what went wrong in that relationship because I don't want to repeat those mistakes. As well as if I'm giving them parameters of the scope of work, and I'm saying things like, yeah, you'll get it back in 2 to 4 days or 3 to 5 or whatever the case may be, I try to deliver that faster than I said I would. Like under promise, over deliver is a real thing in relationship building because I would like my clients to be shocked and amazed by how quickly, how professionally, and how efficiently I work. I remember getting a client just because they called me and I answered the phone. They literally said, oh, I didn't even expect you to answer the phone. I was just going to leave a message. And doing that several different times with the same person, they were like, you know why I like working with you? Because you always answer the phone. There's so many videographers out here or media agencies who you reach out to the guys and they just don't respond, sometimes days. And if you're somebody who's holding on to their project, they want to know what's going on. And you just being undependable, or maybe you just don't feel like talking on the phone that day, can really damage your reputation as somebody who's trying to build relationships for your business. So if I were to give you some practical insight, don't ghost people. Like, don't make it a habit of not responding to texts, emails, and phone calls, because that is the lifeblood of your business. Communication is always the reason you are getting business or you're not getting business. I've seen people who were worse than me at a specific thing, but the way they communicated, we call it the gift of gab, but the way they communicate just got them so much business. And it does come down to that. If you're ignoring people, or if you're constantly ghosting people because you don't feel like talking, it's going to come back and bite you. I promise you it will. The second thing is reach out to people, especially when it has nothing to do with business. Like, there are times where I will follow my clients and I'll see them post stuff, or a potential client, I'll see them post stuff that has nothing to do with business. And I will always make sure that I comment or I respond to that thing, because you're building relationships that will last a lifetime in and out of business. There are people that I've worked with and I no longer worked with, but we're still cool. And because the relationship is healthy, I feel like I'm keeping that bridge alive, that if they ever wanted to come back and work with me, there's no problem to. Another big part is listening to clients. I was talking to a videographer agency because I'm working on scaling my business and I need some help. And as I was on the phone with this person, he's asking me questions on like 3 different responses, and I'm trying to respond and he's just jumping back with the response. And as I'm talking to him, I'm getting irritated, because I'm like, man, is this what people do? You ask a client a question, you hear like that golden word that's like, oh yeah, I can land this sale if I just respond to this thing. And then you just cut me off. Guarantee you will never get my business doing stuff like that. Make sure you're not just listening to respond so that you can jump out there and say, oh, well, I can help you with this, and here's my rate, and here's how I'm so amazing, and how I can make your business amazing, and I can 10x this, and I can bring in a funnel and all these leads. And trust me, it is just business vomit, and I don't want to hear it. I would much rather feel listened to than just having you regurgitate a script that you've been practicing that you probably don't even mean. You just want the paycheck. And then after you get the paycheck, the conversation you had with me starts to dip because you got paid. And now you don't need to present yourself as a professional. I promise you, it was the most annoying phone call that I have ever had. And I was like, you know what? I will never do this to someone. I will make sure that they feel heard, because half of building a relationship is listening. And if you don't have that skill set, you got to have it. Where they say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, because you're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. And lastly, just be yourself. If you can be yourself around certain people and you guys vibe with that, trust me, that relationship is going to last for a while, because I don't like working with people if I can't be myself. That's the first thing. If I feel like I got to dress myself up to a certain standard just to sit with you and talk with you, I'm going to be uncomfortable while I work with you, or I'm going to have insecurities about myself that I don't want to have. So I'm going to make sure I'm always myself in the first introduction, so that I know if this relationship is going to last anyway. But I wanted to give you guys some encouragement, especially if you were in a dip when I was, because things are looking better in this market right now. And if you have built some relationships during that dry season, it's time to reach out to them and see if now was a good time, because the market has shifted in such a way where I am just getting flooded with calls and emails every single day now. Like, my August calendar is completely filled, and it's, what is it? It's only the 7th. So I'm like, yeah, I'm running with it. So I actually got to get ready for a job right now and a Zoom call. So I'm going to wrap this one up. If there is anything you guys want me to cover, please, 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 you know where to go in the comments. Like, follow, share, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.